heart out.
Hi, I'm Kayla Ogden.
And I'm Rachel Sear.
And this is Write Your Heart Out.
Woohoo!
So last episode was so much fun doing a story time where we had Scott Gibson and MJ send in their poems.
Yeah, that was great.
That was great.
Not only did we really enjoy it, but we got feedback from both of them that they loved it. And
then Scott suggested that they do a switcheroo. So Scott and MJ don't know each other. So they kind of talk through us. And Scott said, I'll write a poem about Elon and she can write a poem about young love. And then MJ said,
absolutely. She's like super excited about it and was like, I'll have a poem in a couple days. She had just gone through a breakup. So she's like, I got locked and loaded. Things are beating in that heart.
Okay.
She didn't say that. She didn't say that.
She didn't. Oh, really? Okay. I couldn't have guessed. Well, yeah, so she's young, so that would have been young love, right?
Absolutely.
Yep, so
all
that's
of
the
her love is
assignment.
young love.
Aw, all her love is young love, MJ. So that was awesome, and I'm so excited that they're doing the switcheroo, and hopefully Scott will be done his by the next time we record. And another writer, Blair Weber, sent in some poems. She's been my friend since grade 2.
That's great.
And we've been kind of on like a writing journey together. So I'm really excited to hear her poems. She recorded them, which that's kind of what I prefer.
Yeah, I think hearing them in their voice with their cadence is key.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll even get some more to share. Maybe we'll even get a story to share, hopefully. We'll see if you guys send something in. Okay, we have to acknowledge the fact that Rachel Sear won one of the contests that she entered that we've been talking about this whole time.
It's so it was one of the ones I forgot that I had even sent it in, which is like, of course it was the one that I wasn't even in. It wasn't even in my like thought process. It's pretty exciting. Reader's Digest.
Congratulations. Reader's Digest is so legit, too.
I think so. You know, like I saw it and I was like, this can't be real. It must be like an ad. Like they're just trying to sell me something. Oh. And then I went to Submittable, which is how I submitted it, and saw like, nope, that is true. And then I went to Reader's Digest and like, I didn't win top prize, you know, and I didn't even win runner up, but it's just an honorable mention, which I still think is pretty cool. I think that's because they had like 4,000 people that submitted. No. And so my name and this title of my story, which was Extra Scoop of Revenge.
Yes. Which episode did we read those on?
I think that was the second story time. I think our first story time was Larry. Right?
Oh, was it? Okay.
Larry. And then our second one, we chose prompts because we were trying out that site that we both decided not to submit to.
Oh, it was Readsy prompted.
Yes.
And Rachel's story ended up winning an honorable mention in Reader's Digest, which is crazy. And you didn't even send it in to the Readsy prompted. Maybe it would have won the whole thing.
Maybe it would have. I mean,
because that's way less stories than were submitted to Reader's Digest.
Right. I mean, but it is also so subjective on who's reading it, right?
That's true.
Like, there's no way to know. There's no, like, why even speculate? I think it's pretty cool. And they sent me a little, you know, quote unquote badge to put under my signature on things that's like award winner with Reader's Digest. So I threw that up on our website because I was like, oh, good. Look at me go.
Yeah. I mean, now it's like Write Your Heart Out, hosted by Kayla Ogden and award winning storyteller Rachel Sear.
I mean, it definitely was a nice little boost to my ego. I'm like, oh, I'm just writing for fun. There's a dad who is often walking with me towards school at the same time, and he's a writer. And he, you know, like he went to school. His MFA was on creative writing, and like,
was he the one that asked you, how can you not know where this story is going?
No, different dad.
That's
different
a different dad. Okay, yeah. So you be talking to all the dads about your writing.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, they ask what I do, you know, and I'm like, well, well, stay-at-home mom doesn't really feel right because I do have my hand in so many pots. That's a different topic. But this guy's a writer, and he does write professionally, but not any fiction anymore. So we were talking about, I was like, oh, well, I'm kind of a writer, but like not as much of a writer as you, clearly, because you did your MFA. But now I'm like, well, I guess, our first episode, I was like, I don't think I can qualify myself as a writer yet. When someone asks me what I do, I can also say I'm a writer now.
Oh,
so like,
wow.
I feel like I've graduated.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank you.
I feel like you're leaving me in the dust.
No.
Just to make this about me. At first, when I heard, I'll admit I felt a little bit jealous.
Oh, well, I would probably feel the same way.
But then, I gazed at my navel for a few hours and decided that actually what I wanted to feel and what I now feel is, have you heard of compersion?
No, give it to me.
So compersion is a word that polyamorous people use.
Ooh, look at us.
When their partner has a lover,
okay,
and they see their partner being in love and happy with someone else.
Okay.
There's a way to look at that as a human and not feel overwhelming an inferno of jealousy just incinerating your bones like I think I would feel if I saw my husband being in love with someone else. Like that is like the seventh layer of hell. But people who are made for these open relationships, polyamorous relationships, say that they feel something called compersion. It's like unselfish joy and empathy when they look at their partner's happiness with another person. So it's like winning an award for writing. I want to be with that. And at first, when I watched you being with it and falling in love with it, I felt rage.
Oh, Kayla.
Okay, I'm lying. I never did I feel rage. I felt like a little twinge of like, oh, dang, like I didn't win anything yet.
Well, sure.
But now I've evolved as a human, and now I feel compersion. I feel happy for you is my long-winded way of saying that.
I'm glad that you've comperged.
I fully comperge with you.
I feel like it's completely normal and like, what is normal? I don't know. But it's like, yeah. And also like, I would totally feel the same way, like I would be like, well, she's been writing a lot longer than me. Like I would, if it was you and I'd be like, I would totally be I would totally be like, like trying to make myself feel okay about it.
You know what? We're like Venus and Serena Williams. So
yeah, sure. We're just like them.
We're just like them. I'm Venus. I am the one that started first. And you're Serena, and you be coming in here and eclipsing me.
Oh my God.
But I'm comperging very well, for the record. In all seriousness, congratulations. You deserve it. And I know, like, I told you that story was really good.
You did. You saw more in it than I did, for sure.
Yeah, you just have a really great knack for showing, like, relationships and really fun dialogue. And then the plot just really, like, skipped along, and it was very satisfying at the end. So if anybody wants to listen to her award-winning story, if you haven't listened to it yet.
The Storytime number 2, which is where we decide not to submit. I think the name is
Storytime 2, Stories That Were Too Good for Reezy.
Clearly.
Yeah, and this one has MJ's Clouds and Rachel's Flamingo poem, which I also think you should definitely submit to something, because that one is really good.
Yeah,
everything's good.
I'll give it a shot, because I need to start trusting other people's opinions that's a good poem.
And then on the topic of contests,
yes,
I submitted 2 sentences to the Rights of November thing.
Me too. I was scraping in on that assignment right as you walked through the door.
Yep.
And because you reminded me so wonderfully yesterday that it's due today. Do you want to share what your sentences are?
Sure. I'm sharing 2 sentences from my manuscript, Pillow Forts Down, that I've been editing. These aren't my favorite sentences. These are just ones that have come up so far in my editing. But yeah, I thought I kind of like these ones. So here goes. Her mother's stilettos clicked against the tiles, a sound that faded as she moved down the hall. Lonnie hated to admit it, but sometimes there was no sweeter sound than her mother walking away.
Ooh, I like that. God, especially since I know Lonnie and her mom's relationship.
Oh,
I
a
mean,
little
I
bit.
still haven't finished your book, but like,
Maybe
that's good.
don't finish it. So
Okay.
where you just read the first part?
Yeah, I'm only in the first. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I can pause.
Pause, because after my edits, it's going to be so much better.
Okay. Okay. I'll pause.
Okay, so then what did you send sentences from, and what were the sentences?
As you all know, I printed out Dinner for Eight to do my edits. And I am now about a quarter way through the book, editing wise. I decided I was just going to flip open to a random page and pick the two most exciting sentences on the page.
Oh my gosh, you're so willy-nilly.
I am, just...
Is that your middle name? Rachel Willy-Nilly Sear?
Well, Willie is a family name.
It is?
It is.
Okay.
It's my son's middle name. It's my older brother's name as well. And my grandpa's name is William.
Oh, that's so cute, Willie.
So let's go with it.
Let's go with
Rachel
it.
Willy-Nilly. Okay, so Dinner for Eight. This is the ones I just went with on this page. Well, there's nothing more to do than just die, I suppose. I slide myself down the wall in the same place where Kyle had left me.
What the hell? Oh my god, that happens? Wait, is she gonna die?
Oh, I don't know.
Sam?
I don't know. You're going to have to find out.
Okay,
Somebody dies. I can tell you that for
This
sure.
book is gonna be so good, I can't even deal with it. You have to finish it. Okay, so you're 3/4 of the way through?
No, I'm a quarter of the way through editing. I'm just a quarter of the way. Yeah, but
This is taking you way longer than writing it.
It really is. But it's because as I'm going through, I made so many notes as I was going on things that needed to be added, character development. So, like, it's, things that are happening in the book. I gotta beef it up. Beef. I needed to add the beef.
It needs beef.
Yeah, less sausage, more beef. Okay,
Oh
I'll
my
stop
God.
with the sausage. Okay, so my printout, printing things out. You took a tip from the Rachel pot and...
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm going to edit my book in the next, 2 weeks, and then I'm going to send the manuscript in. So I really want to submit it to this book pipeline unpublished contest, which is, the deadline is like on the 25th. So I was like, okay, I'm going to read through my whole manuscript and just, make notes and stuff like that and sort of try to see it as a whole.
Yes.
I got really gung-ho and I was like, ugh. And I got on the Staples website and I was like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then I was like, but I need it now. And so I was like, I'm going to pay an extra $20 to get it couriered to my house in the next 2 hours because I need to do this now. And then whatever, it came. And I started reading it, and immediately I thought of whole sentences to change. So then I opened up my computer and I started changing them on there. And basically, I just can't do it.
Okay. Interesting.
Like the book is just sort of flopped there.
Well, hold on. How did it feel holding it in your hand, though?
Oh, it
was
felt
that fun?
amazing.
Yeah.
And it's so big. It's like double-sided, and it's huge.
Thick.
It feels like such a big accomplishment. Yeah. I had I put it in a drawer for a long time, and I wasn't feeling very great about it. But after going to that writers group and talking about the hook of the book and everyone being so excited about it, I was like, actually, that was a fucking cool book.
Yeah.
So I've been editing, and on this episode, I want this to be like sort of a craft episode.
Yeah.
So the meat of this episode is not sausage. The meat of this episode is writing craft. So get ready to kind of like nerd out with us about like how to edit, essentially. Mm-hmm. I was getting the sense that my beta readers weren't connecting with my characters. And I'm like, I think I have a good plot. I think I'm a clear writer. But I've sacrificed a lot by being afraid of writing like purple prose.
Sure.
Being overly floral with my, and cringy with these like poetic, gorgeous sentences or whatever. And just exasperating the reader. And I was afraid of telling the reader too much rather than putting everything in the scene.
Right. Okay.
So I want to break this down a little bit for people who are newer to the craft of writing. A rule of writing that gets tossed around a lot is show, don't tell. And it turns out that this started with Chekhov in Russia, who believed that giving vivid details to the reader so they could just close their eyes and imagine a scene, that was the best way of doing it rather than just telling the person how everybody felt or why they were there or, what they wanted. You were supposed to just look at the details of the scene and the action. So Chekhov kind of started the whole show don't tell thing, but then Hemingway really got into it. He even had like this iceberg theory that said,
yes.
oh, have you heard of this?
Of course, that was a huge part of our creative writing class.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, I've never heard of this. So he had this iceberg theory that said only a small portion of the story should be explicit, with most of the story being like under the sea or essentially filled in by the reader's imagination and interpretation.
Right. And a really great way to do that is with dialogue. You know, like these two people or a group of people are having this conversation, and you don't need to necessarily set the full scene because you can feel so much from the way that they're talking to each other or like setting the tone of it. Like that's a great way to allow like people to use their own imagination just with that dialogue, you know, flowing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believed that this was the key to good writing, and I followed it implicitly. In my book, I never once, in the third person chapters of characters, ever said directly how they felt or what they wanted.
Oh, interesting.
I just showed it.
Yeah.
Even though I thought I was writing in third person close, say Lonnie is one of my characters, I never said, Lonnie's mouth was so dry, she looked around for a glass of water, she felt desperate, whatever. I would just be like, Lonnie ran to the sink and grabbed a cup and turned on the tap and filled it. Mm-hmm. And then you have to just, like that, I just thought that's how you were supposed to write.
Sure. I mean, well, this correlates with what you've said before, where like you thought that sharing too much inner dialogue was a negative. Where this was our Emily Esbatch.
Allison Esbatch did the Wedding People.
There we go. Yes, there we go. Esbatch. Yeah, I had the name right.
The last name.
But she has so much internal dialogue, and then you were saying that was so foreign to you, and this lines up perfectly.
And it was fascinating. Her book was a huge hit, and it wasn't boring at all. So with my book, I thought, well, the reader should know that Lonnie wants to get out from under the claws of her emotionally and financially abusive stage mother. Like, they should just know that she wants to get out of there, because you see how strong of a chokehold the mother has over Lonnie through the scenes where they're having argument. And then we see that Lonnie wants to quit modeling, and then we see her get a different job and start saving up for her own apartment. So the reader can interpret that and say Lonnie wants to get out from under her mother's control. But I never had Lonnie actually thinking about that.
Sure.
I think that as I've been going through the manuscript, I've been adding in the telling. And the way that you can tell something can be so beautiful, emotional, surprising, and unique. Or it can be just straightforward. But done correctly, I think it bonds the reader to the character.
Yes, I think so.
And it validates the reader for interpreting correctly.
Totally.
Or it surprises the reader by being unexpected.
Yeah.
So I have an example of how this could work.
Sure.
Say there's a character, it's a woman, a wife. Her name is like Gertrude. Okay. So I just came up with this example. So she comes into her home and she comes across the dead body of her spouse on the living room floor.
Oh, no.
We can show her backing out of the room, frantically finding her cell phone and calling 911, right? So you've seen this scene. That's what we wrote.
Sure.
And then we could move on to the next scene. And you would interpret her coming across her husband's body as you wished, right? Or, so that would be completely showing. Or we could say, Gertrude was surprised by how violently her body was reacting to the sight of her husband lying there, just where she had planned for him to be, and just as dead as she had hoped. So that would be like a surprising way of telling. Yeah. You would never interpret that, the showing of that scene, unless you had something prior in the work. But if you just see her come in and then be so startled and be so shaky and find it and call 911, you would just think, oh my gosh, she's completely...
Sure.
And so that's one way of telling that would surprise the reader. Or you could say, Gertrude was terrified that the killer was still in the house, but she clawed her way through that fear to go for the phone instead of running out the door. She couldn't leave Marty alone. She would wait by his body. She would hold on to his hand. Now you know this character to be brave and
Sure.
selfless and complete, like a best friend to her spouse. You're showing the action of the story, and then you're telling the reader how to interpret it.
Right.
And I think that in this day and age, with our generation and the generations under us, that's what we like. You know, writing used to be so different in the classics.
Yeah.
Those books are very different from what we're reading now.
They are.
And they're great. I love the classics, you know. Give me some Bronte sisters. Like, I'm all about it. But they wrote differently than us. And in the modern day, people want to be shown and told. That's what I believe.
I think that that's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I think there's genres like action-packed stuff.
Sure.
That it's like, you know, a man with a very particular set of skills or whatever. Drugstore, paperback, that thing that comes, like 4 of them come out a year that are great in their own right, but aren't about emotional conflict as much.
Right.
And I think those books you just show, like, but that's not what I'm doing.
Right. Well, I mean, there's definitely a lot of the classics, they want room for interpretation because they're more poetic, like poetically written, where like it's supposed to evoke emotion and you're supposed to allow the reader their own interpretation a little bit more. I don't like that. I don't like, and and that's my, you know, my whole beef with poetry, you know, although I am coming around, I gotta say, but I don't like it when it's left up to interpretation. I feel like I could interpret it wrong. And there's a lot of older books specifically that I think I'm like, well, what was I supposed to get from this? Because like, tell me what I was supposed to get. And I appreciate in writing of showing and telling working together, you know, in tandem.
Yeah, I could imagine like back in the day before television.
Sure, exactly.
You know, the internet, like anything, a new book comes out by Hemingway. And all the rich people go and get one, and then they read it, and then they sit by the fire and they think about it, and then they read it again, and then they have their friends over for a salon where they all discuss it and whatever.
Ooh, so regal.
Like, it's like, I feel like that was more the vibe back then.
Yes, I think so.
Where now it's like we're flipping through a book as fast as we can until like 3 a.m, and then we're going on TikTok and seeing what other people thought about it and watching them like cry, like clutching the book or whatever. Like, it's just different vibes.
God, that sounds horrible. Sorry. Just, I would.
You're like, I don't want to.
I would never watch that. If you're gonna cry and clutch a book, I'm not your audience.
So what I've been doing is I'm going back and I'm just adding interiority.
Cool.
And it's making the book so much better, you guys.
Good. I love that. I love that for you.
I've cracked the code.
Yeah.
Because the people who got back to me, the agents who got back to me, they're like, I like the hook. I like the plot. I like the writing. Like, you're a clear writer. But I don't know. It's just missing something.
Sure.
This is what it's missing, you guys.
Yeah, good. I'm excited. I'm
so
glad that you've
excited.
stopped me in my tracks and I can wait for version 2.
Woohoo, yes. And then there's a couple other like little tricks that I'm using as I'm editing that I want to share in case you're kind of in the same, or not you, maybe you.
Maybe me.
Oh, you are editing your book.
I am.
But yours already has all this shit, but
Well, that's not necessarily true. You've only read the first quarter. Right?
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. So another thing that I'm doing as I'm editing is, which this is making the scenes a lot more like dynamic and realistic. So what I'm doing in each chapter is the main characters in the chapter, I'm just quickly writing out what is their desire, what is their fear, and what is their misbelief.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Oh, we did?
Well, just not in this. I think it was with Save the Cat. Every character has to have a reason to be there. It's the gun. If you're gonna bring the gun, it's gotta be you have to be ready to fire it situation. Okay. But with humans, you know, like if they're gonna be there, what is their fear? What are they hoping to do? What are like they have to have a purpose there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've just made that clear to myself. And once I make that clear to myself, it affects the dialogue.
Totally.
And it affects their tone and their movements and everything.
Yeah, I really like that idea.
Because when you just pants a book, you shouldn't really be thinking about all of this stuff all the time. Like,
No.
it's like when you're pantsing, it's such a free-flowing, separate kind of experience that I just think that you don't really want to slow down and be like, okay, well, what's her misbelief right now? It's like,
Right.
you just want to see where things go.
Sure.
And that's a really magical time. But when you're going back over your draft, I think that's a really good time to do this, and it's been helping me. Another one is when we walk around in life, humans, we always have an expectation out of everything, every place that we are, every moment in time, we have an expectation. I expect that Rachel's going to keep on sitting here and she's in her closet with me and she's going to have a great conversation with me about writing. And if something disrupts that, I'm going to be disappointed. I might be like kind of annoyed.
Right.
Depending on what happens, I might be scared. You know, like
It'll evoke something.
it'll
within
evoke something,
Yeah.
and the reader will see that change. So, for example, with Gertrude, she's the woman who finds her husband dead on the floor in her living room. If she's going to walk into her house, right? What is her expectation? You should establish that for the reader so that they can see that change between her going in and what she finds there. So you could have her going in and, oh, actually it's her birthday and her husband hasn't been getting back to her today. And she thinks he's been acting kind of weird lately. And she's like, okay, they are totally having a surprise party for me right now.
Yeah.
So now that affects how she walks in the room, right? Now she's coming in a little cautiously. She's looking around. She's going, hello?
Right.
You know? And then she
there's
like
Marty.
bounces into the living room like, where are you guys? And then, damn. And then now you've got this like roller coaster. Or she thinks that he's going to be dead in there. So now how does she enter the room?
Right.
And then it surprises her that she's actually having like this physical, like scary reaction to something that she was expecting. So when two characters collide, what are each of them expecting from their day at that point? And how is that being disrupted?
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to definitely keep that in mind as I keep editing. Because I've got 8 characters, 9 at play.
Yes.
Technically, I have 11 characters at play. It's hard to keep track of that, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like using that technique that you just said of like, even like writing down at the beginning of each chapter who's at play and what are their intentions and what are they expecting to see, like what needs to be dove into more of like how to keep that roller coaster on its ups and downs.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be really good. And maybe that's part of like the iceberg, right? Like
Totally.
maybe you explicitly say it, or maybe it just shows up in the dialogue in the way that the characters are moving.
Right.
Like I think, for example, there's the one woman in the version that I read, she brings Sam's ex to the party, right? She's a really interesting character for me because what is she expecting?
Totally.
Okay, so she doesn't expect that Sam is going to know this guy.
Right.
How does she think that her wife is going to react to this? Like,
Totally.
is she nervous, or is she the kind of person who she wants to stir the pot? Is she proud that she's with this guy? Is she sort of ashamed and like hiding behind him? Like, what's her expectation of how people are going to react to her walking in with this guy?
Right.
You're like smirking like you know
Of course
all
I
of this
know.
stuff. Yeah.
But she's like so toxic but like not, but in such like an oblivious way. Her character really is wild. She's a wild ride. Yeah.
There's another character in there that I think knowing his expectations would be fun, which was there's a guy, I think he might be a bit of comic relief, like he wears like a funny hat or like he's going all in, right? Frank. Okay.
Yep.
What is Frank expecting?
Sure. Right.
Is he expecting that everyone is going to be as into their characters as he is? And when they're not, is he kind of annoyed by that and like, oh, come on? Or like, does he expect everybody to fall on their face drunk? Is this the first time he has been out to a party in a month because he's so bogged down with work and he just wants to have a good time, and all this drama comes up and he's just exasperated and he's like, let's just have a fucking drink? How does his character react to everything? Could be really funny.
Yeah.
Based on like what his expectations and what his desire and his misbeliefs are. So I think having that many characters in the story and knowing all of this stuff about them would make it so rich and fun.
I think it's pretty rich and fun. But I'm excited to use these techniques and like really dive into each one a little bit more to just keeping these in mind as I'm editing, because I think that there's a few characters that progress the story. So I know that they're needed, but they don't have the level of depth where you really care about them. They need a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes with like a murder mystery, everybody's so I literally don't know what goes on in your book. It's probably already fucking perfect because you're such a good writer. But find sometimes in murder mysteries it's at the end it's the one character that basically wasn't a character because they were just sort of like off to the side, and so it's like you would never expect them because you barely even know that they were even there. You're like, oh, right, there was that other couple. Okay.
Right.
And I think that there's sort of like this balance with mysteries where the reader doesn't want to figure it out in the second chapter because they don't, then they're bored, right?
Right.
It feels worn out. It's already been done. Why even bother reading this? But I know people, these are people who they have big egos when it comes to their intelligence. If they can't figure it out by the end of the book, they get pissed off and think that it's a bad book.
Yeah, I've definitely heard people who talk like that.
Which I think is so silly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, sorry, she got you. But
sorry.
But also, sometimes that's valid because if it's like, actually, after all this stuff, every single thing that I put in this story was actually a red herring because who it really was Melinda, the guy's date that we literally haven't seen on the page once in this whole book. It's like,
I
surprise.
need to write something down real quick because you just gave me an idea.
So I think there's a balance. I think what people want is to figure it out the end of the book 10 pages before it ends. And I think they want the twist, which is more in the middle, to be a surprise.
Sure.
But this is all like very formulaic. And in my view, as a pantser, I wouldn't want that in my head as I was figuring out what the story was.
Right.
But looking at your work as a whole, if it's a mystery, being like, where is the twist and what have I dropped in that they can now look back and go, oh, like that seems so insignificant that Frank went into the freezer and got out the mint chip ice cream and was just eating it with a spoon. Like that just seemed like his quirky character, but it turned out whatever it is, you know? Sorry, I'm like, I've never written a mystery in my life and here I go. Is there a twist in your book?
There's definitely a twist. Yeah.
Is there just one or is there more than one?
I think it's really just one major one that's like, oh my fucking God. Like, I wish that didn't just happen.
Better not be with the kid.
No. There's no kids in the book.
Okay.
Yeah. The kids stay at the hotel where they belong. I can say that for sure. No children were harmed in the making of this book.
Is the twist in the middle or at the...
I'd say 2/3 of the way through.
Okay.
Yeah. Like it has a really big build up and then it's the twist. But it doesn't get resolved, but there's like a solid ending. You know, like it's not like a big cliffhanger-y situation either. Yeah,
when people say that the twist in the book should be at the halfway point, I think I disagree with that. And I think in my book, the twist, or I guess it's not called a twist, it's called a reveal in my case, happens, about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through the book. Because I feel like that moment for the reader, it's like that's such a big part of why I read.
Totally.
And why they're flipping the pages, because things aren't adding up or there's all this curiosity about what it is. And then once you reveal that, the tension is kind of like gone.
Yeah.
And then what you want is to see things resolved over a few chapters to get some satisfaction.
Right.
But after the twist happens, what do you?
I mean, yeah, you got to just clean up the mess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Depends on the story.
Right.
I guess. So the last thing was I sent you this video by this amazing YouTuber.
Yes.
And she's an author. I haven't read her books yet, but I think I probably should. Her name's Abby Emmons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the name of the video was, but she was talking about emotional dynamic change.
Yeah,
right?
it was a good video. I thought that she's Little Women as an example. She had two different versions of Little Women, and she was talking about like both writing a novel and in a movie or in a screenplay, and how to like really evoke that emotional charge in your viewers or your readers. I liked what she had to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was comparing Greta Gerwig's Little Women, a particular scene, with the BBC's Little Women. Have you seen either of those?
You know, I have a really hard time watching something after I've read it as a book, and I have very positive memories of reading Little Women. I've never liked it as in any of its forms as a movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I really liked Greta Gerwig's Little Women because visually it was so good, like the clothes and the colors and the scenery. It was just so awesome. But what Abby was saying was like, okay, so she's talking about emotional dynamic change. Composers use this to add depth and complexity to their music. So it's like variation in volume or intensity between the notes or movements that convey a range of emotion.
Right.
Like if everything is just da 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 through the whole song, you're just literally, people call that, it's one note.
Right.
And there's a scene in Little Women where it's a really insane scene where the little bitchy one wants to go to a play with Joe the writer and I think Meg the nice one. Mm-hmm. And Meg the nice one and Joe the writer just ditch the bitchy one and they go. And the bitchy one is so mad that she takes Joe's manuscript and she burns it.
Which
she
is
burns
wild. Like, what
Wild.
a reaction. I can't imagine ever, like, taking revenge on someone by, like, I'm going to take your life's work and just fucking destroy it. What a bitch. Sorry.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it's just...
Kids, man.
Oh.
But isn't she supposed to be, like, 12? She doesn't even have a fully formed lobe.
Yeah, the character's a little bitch.
Yeah.
No, she's a little girl. And she just wants to go to the play. And
yeah.
Anyways, the way that it's depicted from these different directors in the Gerwig interpretation, Amy starts out just whining. She wants to go. She wants to go. She wants to go. And then the sisters are like, you can't go. You can't go. You can't go. And then when they get back and they find out that she's burned the manuscript, all the sisters are immediately screaming and yelling and hitting each other and fighting. It's literally one note.
Yeah, it's 0 to 60.
Yeah,
and it's just
everybody's
like,
screaming.
But it was already like built up to like little whiny bitch. You
Yeah,
know?
it was just nothing really. There was no dynamics. Nothing really changed.
Right.
Whereas in the BBC version, we see Amy come into the room at first, and she's, "What are you guys doing? Where are you guys going?" She's like excited, and they say they're going to a plane. She's like, "Oh my gosh, can I come?" And she's, what are her expectations around this? She's expecting that she's going to be able to go. And then when they say no, her emotions change. It's dynamic.
Crushed.
Now she's crushed. So we get that high and low. That's the same with every character in these scenes. They're expecting something. They're surprised by what the other person said. They're reacting. Their emotions are changing and everything's really dynamic. So when I'm going through my manuscript and characters are having a conversation, I'm not having them speaking with the same type of emotion and language and urgency.
Right.
If you have one character going, "No, I didn't," and you have the other one going, "Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did." Like, that's one note.
Right.
So I'm trying to create more dynamics among the characters. And I think that happens when they have different expectations, when they have different desires and different fears and different misbeliefs, then you're automatically starting to have this dynamic emotional range.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I noticed when I was thinking about this emotional dynamic range, I thought about your 2-hour prompt, story prompt or whatever, and how you have that. You have emotional dynamic range so go back and listen to the last episode, people listening to this right now, if you want to hear what I'm talking about, because Rachel wrote a little snippet of a story based on a prompt, and she wrote it in 2 hours, and then she read it on the pod. And the characters go into this diner. There's sort of this headstrong, sassy,
homeless woman,
poor woman, and there's this.
Sorry, that's not funny. I shouldn't have laughed like that.
You have no home.
I mean, I wrote her, but sorry, girl. Okay.
She's not real, guys.
Yeah.
Don't. So there's her,
yes.
And then there's this big man from work who is polished. He's rich. He goes to the fancy gym. He eats at nice restaurants, and he's kind of cheeky.
Yeah.
And relaxed, where she is very worked up.
Yeah.
And confused. She doesn't know anything. He has the answers. He's calm and collected and cheeky, and she's sort of all worked up. And then you have the waitress come in, and she loves June, and all she's seeing out of this scene is that her little friend June is on a date with this rich, hot guy.
Right.
So now her emotional state is also dynamic.
Sure.
Right?
And it's throwing off the other woman even more. Like,
yes.
the waitress is like winking at her, and she's just like, "I'm not on a date," and like that's making her even more angry somehow,
yes.
in like a totally different way than she already was.
Yes, and you could easily write that scene with is it Junie?
Junie's the waitress,
and
Kimmy is the homeless woman. And then Jared is the mysterious, maybe slightly magical person. We don't really know.
The wolf that grabs you by the ankles and has his furry way with you.
Right.
So you could have written that as Kimmy going, "Why are you here? And how did you find me?" And then Jared going, "I didn't find you. Why would you ask me that?" And then Junie coming up and being like, "Don't yell in the restaurant. Can't you see that you're annoying everybody?" And so everybody is just clashing and yelling at each other.
Right.
Right? Like that's what I find with, honestly, Friends. Do you remember that show, Friends?
Sure. Yeah.
You do? Okay, it was
we are millennials. Yes.
It was like phenomenon. Okay, so I love Friends.
Yeah.
I have very fond feelings towards Friends, especially the first, say 5 seasons.
Yes. Yeah.
But I did find, and like people say that if you don't have conflict in a story, there's no conflict, no story.
Right.
So in every episode of Friends, there's the Monica's say like expectation she's going to make this beautiful dinner, and her misbelief that everyone's going to like it,
right,
and love her more for it, and then the reality that she's faced with that all the friends, I don't know, say they don't like it, or they're all
or weren't available to come,
or like something like that, and then hijinks ensue. But I always find that on Friends there's this one penultimate scene where they're all in Monica's apartment screaming at each other.
It's true.
And it's very one note, and it's very like grating. Like maybe not every episode, but I have seen episodes.
It's definitely
like
a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Those scenes would be better if there was more emotional dynamic range.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, as much as I do love that show and I'll always have a soft spot for Friends, there's not a ton of emotional. The episodes where there's wide emotional range are every few episodes, which keeps you just hooked enough, which might be the formula for a long running, it was like 26 episodes per season, wasn't it?
God.
Or something that's like that. That might be the formula for writing a show like that, where like you can't have that much emotional range, or else you've got Grey's Anatomy,
Yeah, so, exactly. And I think that Friends, because it was around for so long, and there were so many episodes and so much that had happened, and they also age, the later seasons, the characters are showing more emotional dynamic range. And I feel like we didn't want to see that. I feel like it was too deep. It was like Monica and Chandler like can't have a baby and stuff. Right. And you're just like, guys, come on, Monica, chop up a...
Get stuck in a vestibule, Chandler.
Yeah, exactly. Get back in the vestibule and have this like one embarrassing feeling.
So there's a vestibule in my book. It's like a flashbacky scene. And okay, what would you call the train car, the section of the train car in which the doors are? When I looked it up, it's a vestibule.
Oh, it is.
But I hate that. I feel like it's not a vestibule. I don't know what else it is. If you, dear listener, know a better name for that section of a train car where the doors are, like it's not in its own separate car. It's like at the front of the car, and I guess it's a vestibule by like all intents and purposes. It's a vestibule, but like there's got to be a better name for it. And I hate the word vestibule in my book. It just doesn't belong there. It's not the vernacular that this character would use.
Right.
And
she's not like a train designer, or she wouldn't necessarily know like the jargon of the train being a vestibule.
Right.
So what would she call it?
Yeah.
Because you have to say it explicitly, like they were in this section of the car.
The characters in this scene one of them's watching the other one come through this train door, and the one is like kind of standing in this vestibule area for a second before they start coming, like they see each other, and
because there's no seats there, so you kind of, it's not
Right.
like they can sit down there, kind
right,
of
and
thing.
she
It's
like drops
you
her
move
bag, so she
through
has
it.
to be there for a second to like pick up her bag, and like
Yeah.
the vestibule matters.
Yes, it does, because it's an area where people are coming and going,
Right.
and it's sort of, you don't want to stay there.
Right.
They're
And
trying to
like, is that person going to come towards the other person? You know, like there's like a moment of like, they have to come towards the other one, but they're in this area. What is it called? I don't want it to be a vestibule. So if you hear this episode and you have a better word than vestibule, I will give you credit at the back of my book.
You're gonna get. I'm gonna call it right here, right now. Rachel is gonna get a book deal for her book. I really
Oh my God.
believe it.
You're also going to get a book deal for your book. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Yeah, it's gonna happen. So especially since I'm not just ignoring the fact that it exists anymore, and
Yes.
I've cracked the code. You know, Stephen King, in his book on writing, he says that like once you're done your first draft, put it in a cupboard, walk away for at least 2 weeks. The longer, the better. The longer you get away from that thing and work on something else, think on something else, the better. And I always felt this like time pressure. I don't want to just leave it for 2 months. I want to really, really finish it. I want to send it to agents. I want to get this done. But then when I sort of lost my passion for the work, I just ended up doing that anyways.
Sure.
And that's actually what I needed. So thank you, Stephen King, I guess.
Yeah, I'm really glad that I had a good chunk of July, a good chunk of all of August, and a chunk of September like away from my book. Coming back to it this past week has been really great. It's been like, oh, I forgot that this happened. There was enough that passed where I'm like, I had the questions of like, why are these characters acting this way towards each other? So I was able to resolve it. In the moment while I was writing it, it was like I knew their intentions already. And so now I've pulled away from it. I know that there's not enough there to solve that for the reader. They needed a little bit more. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing I wonder about your book is when people watch, like, say, a horror or a thriller and everybody's scurrying around the house or whatever, people ask, why couldn't they just leave?
All right.
Sometimes I think about that. It's like, oh, my character is in this like horrible situation. So what's keeping them in that situation? Otherwise, people will say, well, just fucking leave.
Right.
But I think that the reason could be like emotional abuse or financial abuse. Like those kind of reasons are legitimate. But if your character doesn't have emotional ties, if they're physically able, if they've got the keys to their car in their pocket, like they have a cell phone, they can call for help, they can, like, why aren't they? There has to be like reasons for that.
Were you going to ask me why my characters don't just leave?
Yeah, why don't your characters leave the party? But I don't know what happens at the party. Maybe they don't want to leave.
No. Well, some of the characters don't know what has happened when everything kind of crescendos. They don't know to leave. And then some of them feel obligated to help in the situation. Some of them have left.
Okay, yeah.
There's nobody at any point in the story who feels like they're in danger.
Oh.
When things start really heating up, it's very surprising how things, because it's a murder mystery party. So like nobody thinks that there's actually any danger happening. Right.
That's so cool. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm so excited. Okay, well, I think that we got really crafty on this episode.
I think so. I like it. I like talking about craft and like I think this was great.
Okay, good. Yeah. I really like it too. And so I am literally, what I have to do though now, if I want to reach this deadline for this contest, is work on it like in all my spare time. Like I can't be doing anything else.
You can't even edit this podcast. Sorry, this is our last episode. Just kidding.
I can edit this podcast, but I can't do any extra stuff for the podcast.
Oh, that's fair.
And then next week, I think we're going to do a story time.
Yes,
right?
because we have our wonderful people who are have written or recorded to come in. And then...
Are you going to have any story that you can share?
I don't know.
What about the Steinbeck? Well, that's going to be 5,000 words. Up to 5,000 words.
Yeah, and that would be a really long thing. I'll think of something I could.
You could do another chapter of your...
Oh, fuck. I was worried you were going to say that. I could try. Let me think about it.
Oh my God, I would love it.
I'll share something if you want me to.
Yeah.
I'll think of something to share. And in another craft episode in the future, I would love to talk about character development, how we've come up with characters, and like when you create a character, do you create an outline for them? Like how I think character development would be a really fun topic. And you know, especially for a story like mine with like 8 different characters, you know, and how you came up with yours. I'd love to talk about that.
Yes, we definitely should. Okay. Yeah, I would love that too. Especially, I feel like character isn't my strong point.
Yeah.
And I think, I would love to learn more about that from you. And okay, so in the future episodes, you're going to hear some more craft talk about character development and a story time episode where hopefully Scott Gibson and MJ do a switcheroo on their last one. And my friend and fellow writer, Blair Vischer, shares some of her poetry.
This is very exciting. Okay, and then like and subscribe, please. We need to start saying that every episode, right?
Yeah,
please
smash that button. That's how the YouTubers say.
Wow.
Smash our button.
It's kind of hot.
Don't smash it too hard.
Kind of hot. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Dad.
Oh Lord. David, send in a story. I heard you're a good writer. Would love to hear it.
Okay. All right. Goodbye, everybody.